RK's Guyana Free Media presents for human development and national development this message.
Dearest beloved divine friends and family, welcome to RK's Guyana Free Media. And this is part or episode 80 for your consumption of the understanding of elections 2020, the absolute madness that is driving Guyanese and Guyana mad. It's a painful, a sad and a horrific situation, beloved divine friends and family, what we are going through here in Guyana, as well as the Guyana Police Force, who have to continue to provide service and protection to the nation Guyana, whilst in certain ways I am sad and upset at them. Back again to the Kaieteur news of Sunday 12th, and I'll do this article in which the UWI chief says the world will accept no other opinion or no other option than recount results from the Guyana. And then before that, I am doing The Conspiracy Begins with David Granger as its architect and ends with him being sworn in, ladies and gentlemen. This is being done by Christopher Ram, my very good friend, a scholar, patriot gentleman. And this other one is by UWI Vice Chancellor Sir Hilary Beckles, great. So, of the UWI and of our own Guyana, Christopher Ram and Beckles. And we go first of all with Christopher Ram, taken from Kaieteur's News, July 12, 2020. The conspiracy begins with David Granger as its architect and ends with him being sworn in. Let us see what happens. Dear editor, the masks are falling off. Dear editor, the masks are finally coming off. By Christopher Ram. And the identity of the riggers of elections and the thieves of votes and citizens is being laid bare. Those, including myself, I must confess, who thought it was the trio of commissioners using Lowenfield, Mingo and Myers were the real crooks, are now recognizing that the conspiracy begins with David Granger as the architect and ends with David Granger being sworn in. That call was made yesterday by Volda Lawrence on her Facebook page, the same day that Lowenfield defied GCOM. And the commentary, you must remember Lowenfield on Saturday did not turn up, sent in the report with concocted numbers, new numbers, which seem to have resembled Mingo numbers. So he keep on pulling numbers from people's ears, brothers and sisters, or from the ear. So this is the reality, this is the pain, this is the confusion, friends and family. What is really going on in the mind of Lowenfield, and according to Christopher Ram here and others as well, is that he is under control, and they are all under control of David Arthur Granger. Volda Lawrence was reacting to a report of the response by Chief Elections Officer Lowenfield, who in his 5th or 6th declaration of the results of the vote has reverted in the main to his March 14th declaration, which featured the fraudulent phantom declaration by Claremont Mingo of polling district number 4, which had contempt charges filed against him. Lawrence, of course, was a co-signatory with Mingo in the false PD4 district declaration, the penalty for which is prescribed in section 137 of the Representation of the People Act, to include both monetary fine and jail time. In other words, Volda Lawrence is part of the group of individuals who have been systematically and criminally dismantling Guyana's democratic structures to impose Granger and the APNU and AFC on the people of the country as they cement dictatorship in Guyana, according to these words and the opinion and viewpoint by Christopher Ram. Yesterday, Lowenfield should have complied with their directive, and that means Saturday 11th. Yesterday means Saturday 11th here, because this recording is taking place on Monday, and Sunday was the 12th. and this is taken from the Sunday newspaper, is saying yesterday, so it's Saturday the 11th, Lowenfield should have complied with the directive of the GCOM chairman to carry out his constitutional duty to submit a report under Section 96 of the Representation of the People Act. First requested by the chairman on June 23rd, more than 3 weeks ago, instead demonstrating disrespect and insubordination to the chairman, Lowenfield resent a report presented since March 14th, which was clearly overtaken by Order 60, dealing with the recount and subsequent judicial pronouncements. Lowenfield, who has been running from the service of a criminal summons, does not care. He knows he has not only the PNCR Street GCOM appointees in his corner, but also the executive and coercive arms of the state, including Granger, behind him. It was no surprise then that Alexandria News report purported to speak for Lowenfield, saying Lowenfield will respond to the chairman. Which means they're communicating. The internecine commentary, the insidious communication conspiracy that I've been talking about. Back to Christopher Ram's article. As a measure of the scale and nature of coordination among the rogue elements in GCOM Secretariat and the PNCR Street GCOM appointees, Lowenfield absented himself from the meeting, as did the 3 commissioners of APNU. Commentary, ladies and gentlemen. So on Saturday, he did not turn up, but he sent in a report. That's the 11th of July. And the meeting was called. They were supposed to be there for the meeting. He did not turn up, nor the 3 APNU commissioners. Now, for you APNU supporters, listen, I'm not no hater of APNU. APNU is my friend. You don't know how deep a friendship we have. You can't know and I can't tell you. But I will tell you, they didn't turn up, but it shows there's a conspiracy involved. They didn't absent by chance. They didn't absent by sickness, hospitalization, or any emergency. They just didn't turn up. So bear this in mind. And this is why I have to speak for what is right. As a Democrat, I'm a Democrat, by the way, in the US. And as a Democrat, I must stop for what is right. And this is what they're doing is wrong. And this is why some of you might be of the opinion that I'm a PPPC. I'm truly a Guyanese professional stalwart in a way, but I have to speak for what is right. But let's go back to Christopher Ram's article. But the conspiracy, Christopher Ram says, does not stop here. It includes Granger, alter ego Joseph Harmon, and Granger himself. If anyone had any doubt that Granger had an iota of decency about him, that illusion was dispelled by Granger in a bizarre display of deceit in his unmasked speech to his supporters on the day that the CCJ had done their decision. I made a commentary about that in the Raw on Saturday, and some of you might have seen that, ladies and gentlemen. And I was very disappointed. First of all, he came out with his mask, but let me hear what this guy has to say. After the decision by the CCJ, he came out. And I go back to the article, a decision with which everyone associated some finality. Yes, we all thought it was final, and the return to democracy. Not only did we underestimate Granger's deceit, according to Christopher Ram, we have been witnessing the despicable act of Granger's changes in the leadership of the GDF in anticipation that Irfan Ali will be sworn in as president, and he, Granger, will then be considered to be engaging in an act of subversion against the state. There is clearly no limit to what Granger's determination to deliver Burnham's dream of a PNC dictatorship in Guyana. That limit is not circumscribed by the possibility of crippling sanctions against Guyana. They don't even care, commentary, about sanctions, it will appear. They believe they can ride it out. GCOM Chair Claudette Singh has shown immense patience in dealing with the PNCR renegade commissioners and the rogue elements in the GCOM Secretariat. As chair, she has a duty to ensure that the principal function of GCOM is carried out, to hold and complete elections. That was her mandate, commentary. That was a job, and she's trying to get it done. A retired judge of the Court of Appeal should not allow a lawbreaker to embarrass her and frustrate the execution of the work of the Commission. Lowenfield is an employee of GCOM, and that is he thinks a constitutional office holder. He's an employee. Employees can be fired, ladies and gentlemen. And they can be fired without any compensation, because you can prove it according to the Labour Act that they deserve to be fired, like when an employee steals. Back to the article. He continued, employment is subject to his contract and the Termination of Employment and Severance Pay Act. Precisely. The Act provides for dismissal without notice when there is a serious misconduct. Precisely what I was just telling you. It is hard to think of anything more serious than Lowenfield's persistent attempt to subvert the Constitution and the Representation of the People's Act. Once he is terminated, an acting chief elections officer should be named. He's giving us an advice. Once he's terminated, you have someone standing by. It should be named, but I'm warning them, don't employ Myers, please. She's even worse than Lowenfield. She's a serious, prejudicial party personality. Once he's terminated, an acting chief elections officer should be named, who should be requested to do what Lowenfield has unlawfully refused to do. And the commentary again, and they must do it immediately. Give them a half an hour to go and do it, because any high school kid could get a laptop or a calculator and get the votes for all the 10 regions and put it together. The valid votes, the non-valid votes, for example, those who spoil their votes and so on. And only valid votes were counted as voted, ladies and gentlemen. The ones that were spoiled were put aside. Once he is terminated, an acting chief elections officer should be named, who will be requested to do what Lowenfield has unlawfully refused to do, repeating for emphasis, thereby holding the country to ransom. The receipt, a consideration by GCOM of the Section 96 of the Roper Report, will allow the March 2nd, 2020 elections to be declared. All that would be left to complete the processes for the chair to arrange with the Chancellor for the swearing in of the new President. Granger's tenure will then constitutionally come to an end, and all authorities, powers, protection and allegiances associated with the lawful President will cease to exist. Granger has boasted that the GDF is the only military in South America which has never been part of a coup. I'm sure that the higher ranks of the army will want to maintain that proud tradition. I'm confident too that the Chancellor of the Judiciary will carry out her constitutional duty to swear in the President, rather than designate any other judge to carry out that function as the Constitution provides. Finally, the APNU and AFC and WPA coalition, including the 3 PNCR commissioners, keeps repeating their false claim of electoral fraud committed by the PPPC in the March 2nd elections. A commentary, ladies and gentlemen. They're behaving as if the PPPC was running the elections. And some of their supporters seem to be bereft of this idea. They were not running the elections, and they had their representatives there, and the police and international representatives and all of us, of which I was one. How could they have committed a fraud? Unless there was that internecine, insidious, conspiratorial plans to do everything that was put in place before. And then to try to say we have invalid votes, not credible votes, because they're creating a red herring, ladies and gentlemen. Back to the article. If they are so certain of their overwhelming evidence, they should confidently pursue the election petition, where they will guarantee a fair and speedy hearing. One thing they can be certain about, the PPPC government that is found to have been sworn in on the basis of rigged elections will not be able to survive a single day, let alone their 132 days and counting since the March 2nd elections, or the 409 days since elections were supposed to be held no later than March 21st, 2019, after the December 21st, 2018, no confidence motion. Yours truly, Christopher Ram. Friends and families. ladies and gentlemen, keep tuned for the last part of this presentation, episode 80 of RK's Guyana Free Media. And so, ladies and gentlemen, friends and families in Guyana and around the world, your brother Haji Wishing Khan with part 2 of episode 80. I must let you know, if you wish to see the other episodes or early episodes when the whole thing started at Ashwin's building, you may go to YouTube, RK's Guyana Free Media, RK with a small s, RK's Guyana Free Media. And Facebook, same thing, RK's Guyana Free Media, to see all the episodes. And you may want to share it, you may want to save it, or you may want to repeat it, you may want to show your children in the future. Whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen, it is there. I've preserved it for you. And now to this part 2, UWI Cheif, University of the West Indies, Cheif says world will accept no other option than recount results. And he is UWI Vice Chancellor Sir Hilary Beckles. And to the article now, ladies and gentlemen. Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Sir Hilary Beckles, has joined the current and past heads of CARICOM, Ralph Gonsalves and Mia Motley, as well as the former Prime Minister of Barbados, Owen Arthur, in calling for Guyana to embrace the true results of the 2020 polls, evidenced by the findings of the national recount of votes. He said there is no other option that would be acceptable to the region and the wider world. The recount shows that the PPPC has gained the most votes at 233,336 votes, ahead of the APNU's coalition of 217,920 votes. Sir Beckles says, the CARICOM scrutineers team has certified that the elections were credible and that the results are completely acceptable. All international observers have endorsed the CARICOM team's findings and support the declaration of being made on the basis of these results. Below is the UWI Vice Chancellor full report. A new day in Guyana. Sometimes it requires a personal rather than political or professional perspective to see beyond the borders of a seemingly divisive circumstance and to offer a dispassionate comment. I was named by my father after his cousin, Hilary Alfonso MacDonald Beckles. And if you see the start of this man's writing, remember, he is a professor, the head of the University of the West Indies. So he will speak no ordinary language, ladies and gentlemen. Beautifully and well put. Hambeck, as he was called, was little known in our native Barbados, but his contribution to nation building in Guyana is well respected. In the late 1940s, he fled BIM for BG. He taught classics for near 3 decades at Queen's College in Georgetown, where he also became principal. His commitments to Guyana straddled the diverse ethnic and cultural scene. He married an Amerindian woman and considered himself a research authority on Hindu culture and Indian civilization. He admired the colony's ethnic diversity. That's the colony of Guyana, right, ladies and gentlemen? Listen to what this man is writing. He admired the colony's ethnic diversity and adopted the new nation of 1966 as his home, Guyana. Supporting the nation's dream for democratic development and equality of ethnicities was his personal quest. Through those years, I came to embrace the wonderful land of 1,000 rivers. I knew something of its history and culture, including the good and the bad times evidenced in its turbulent journey to and beyond nationhood. It has been a torn and tortured terrain with divisive seeds sown in the colonial waters that nurture the rich land. what beautiful words, man. I'd like him to write a history of Guyana in this poetic style of writing. Beautiful language. The only man who writes like this at times is Freddie Kissoon. Back to the article. The determined evidence of the debilitating deployment of ethnic identity as expressions of indigenous nationalism can be seen in far too many places. But above it all, there is also the compelling story in the history from seawalls to sugar estates of commitment to the paramount principle that the will of the people should not be toppled but respected. The people have spoken, and so has the highest court. From 2019 to 2020 electoral campaign and franchise exercise, their will is now known with much pain and sacrifice. The process has been monitored and reviewed by CARICOM. The findings of the outcome should be declared and implemented. There is no other option that will be acceptable to the region and the wider world. The future of the nation is assured with the compliance of state to the popular will. So beautiful. The regional court is counting on the integrity of the polity to protect the democracy. Wow. Back to the article, ladies and gentlemen. I'm having an exciting moment. Wow. What a beautiful writing. What a brilliant mind. Wow. Back to the article. The fear of the future is not an acceptable explanation for franchise frustration in the present. Ethical conduct and not ethnic constructs is expected to rule when democracy is in need of advocacy. This man is a poet. The children of indigenous survivors, the chattel enslaved, the deceived indentured, and others in between must now converge at the rendezvous of victory. The minority party should stay the course and continue to contribute to the sustainability and maturity of the integrated multiracial nation. In this regard, despite the challenges of late, the nation has much to teach its region and the world beyond. This year is the 40th anniversary of the violent taking of Walter Rodney's life. It was forfeit because of the socially and politically integrated values he held most dear. He was from that generation of outstanding Guyanese scholars, nurtured by Ham Beckles, that is the father of this writer, Professor Beckles, my dear friends and family. I join with the current and past heads of CARICOM, the Honorable Ralph Gonzalez and the Honorable Mia Motley, respectively, with the former Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Owen Arthur, in calling for official embrace of the evidentiary truth of the election. Every hour that the celebration of a new day is allowed to sour, the greater will be the tarnish on the varnish of the history of the great nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to read that piece again. I have to read that again for you, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention. I will read very slowly. I join with the current and past heads of CARICOM, the Honorable Ralph Gonzalez and the Honorable Mia Motley, respectively, and with the former Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Owen Arthur, in calling for the official embrace of the evidentiary truth of the election. Every hour that the celebration of a new day is allowed to sour, the greater will be the tarnish on the varnish of the history of a great nation. Hilary M.C.D. Beckles, Professor of Economic History. Ladies and gentlemen, let us pray for our country. Let us pray, Lord, to enter into the head of David Granger. He is the man who can make it all happen, even if others are insisting otherwise, and accept reality and come out with dignity and peace, and call upon his people to not be destructive, but to accept reality. your friend, your brother, me, Haji, Dr. Roshan Khan, saying thank you and farewell, friends. And if you can find a photograph of Mr. Beckles, show the man the personality and the character of greatness. Mr. UWI Vice Chancellor Sir Hilary Beckles. And hold it there for a few minutes so the Guyanese people can understand the wisdom both from the APNU AFC side and the PPPC side and all other Guyanese to see this gentleman's persona and character of class. Farewell, my divine beloved friends and family.